Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is having a beautiful week thus far. My name is Rosalind, and I'll be continuing our sessions on emotional intelligence. Tonight will be the conclusion of the series on emotional intelligence, and I can appreciate and thank God for Apostle Garner and Prophet Yolanda for providing me this space to talk about such an important topic as emotional intelligence. Over the past couple of weeks, several weeks, we have talked about emotional intelligence, providing definitions for it, characteristics, things that suggest what emotional intelligence is, things that suggest such as thinking patterns that can impact our emotional intelligence. And so tonight I'd like to do a small recap on emotional intelligence, specifically providing that definition again so that we have that definition before us, providing that definition as well as going into positive characteristics that we can attribute and use in our daily life. And so tonight, one of the main things I'd like us to get across, I mentioned talking about thinking patterns, and some of the thinking patterns we used examples of how those thinking patterns can impact our emotional intelligence and maybe cause us to react before thinking. So tonight when we're talking, I want to use all positive examples. I want to provide positive words and phrases so that these words and phrases can ever be before us. So whenever we think about emotional intelligence, maybe a word and or a phrase that I share tonight will come to mind whenever we need to employ emotional intelligence in a rather difficult situation. The hope is that one of these words and or phrases and the definition will come to mind and be able to help us as we go through. So as usual tonight, I pray that something that is said will be beneficial to you, that it will impact you in a way that it's just eye opening for you to be able to go forward in your life using emotional intelligence and continuing to grow in emotional intelligence. And so I'm going to share again the definition, and this is a textbook definition that I got from Mental Health America. And then afterwards I'm going to share the definition that we dissected together and that we've been using for the past couple of weeks. So the first definition that I have from Mental Health America, this definition is: emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient, is the ability to understand, use, manage your own emotions in positive ways to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, diffuse conflict. Emotional intelligence helps us build stronger relationships. It helps us succeed at school, at work, and achieve our career and personal goals. It can help us to connect with our feelings and turn those feelings into action. So that's a pretty profound definition. I really like that definition, but I wanted to go a little bit further and kind of just give definition to some of the words that was in that definition. And so our definition that we've been using, very similar, but again, just breaking down some of those words. It's the skill to perceive the intended meaning. And now it becomes personal so that I will use my emotions in a positive way. This will reduce any stress. It will reduce rigidness. It will reduce tightness in my body. I will be able to speak compassionately. I'll be able to speak clearly. I'll be able to speak directly while, while discerning your emotions and imagining what you may be feeling. I'll give myself and you the opportunity to overcome challenges and diffuse any conflict. I will build stronger relationships, succeed at school and work, and achieve my career and personal goals. Emotional intelligence is teaching me to connect with my feelings and turn intention into action. And I really like that last sentence. Emotional intelligence is teaching me to connect with my feelings and turn intention into action. So, last week we did talk a little bit about when we're connecting emotional intelligence to coping skills. One of the things is understanding our emotions, identifying our emotions, identifying why we respond the way that we respond, right? And so, that last sentence teaching me to connect. Now I'm in tune with what I'm feeling. I'm in tune with my emotions. I'm in tune with why did that trigger me? Why did that bother me? What is that connected to? How can I grow from this situation? Okay, so some of the words that I'd like to share tonight, and just saying emotional intelligence is. Okay, so this is what emotional intelligence is: it's positive emotions, it's managing stress, it's perceiving, it's love, it's compassion, it's the ability to reflect, it's vulnerability, it's freedom, it's consistency, it's empathy, it's communication, it's discernment, it's overcoming, it's conflict resolution, strong relationships, it's achieving, it's success, it's self awareness, it's relationship management, it's social awareness, it's forgiveness, it's managing thought life, healthy coping skills, it's confidence, it's grace, it's action. Now, those are a lot of words, and they're all positive words, right? But they're all words that we can contribute to and attribute to emotional intelligence. And some of the words that I shared tonight are a little bit different, are new words that I've shared from the previous weeks that we've talked about. And one of those words, forgiveness. And so going back to our definition, the ability to perceive the intended meaning. And so what if I perceived initially, I took what a statement that you made, and maybe I took it in the wrong way. And now I'm harboring feelings about what you have said because I did not perceive the intended meaning. So now maybe I'm harboring feelings. Well, emotional intelligence suggests one, that I perceive your intended meaning, but two, I'm able to forgive and continue to move on. Another word, love, right? That's also compassion. I'm compassionately, effectively communicating with you. I'm perceiving your intended meaning. I'm not assuming that you meant something. I'm not taking what you said and interpreting it in a completely different way. And now my feelings are hurt. Now I'm angry. None of those things. Emotional intelligence suggests that I'm perceiving your intended meaning. Emotional intelligence suggests that I'm showing compassion because I want compassion within this conversation. I want compassion within this dialogue. I want compassion within and love within this. I want to be able to be vulnerable, right? I want to be able to express the freedom to hear what you mean, to hear what you're saying, and then allowing me to be able to communicate back to you within that same space. So those are some newer words that I shared. That's emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence suggests that I'm not bound up by your words. I'm not bound by a situation. I'm free because I've perceived the intended meaning. And whether it was intentionally good towards me, I'm free, or whether you did mean negative words towards me, I'm still free because my emotional intelligence allows me to continue to move forward. My emotional intelligence allows me to manage my emotions, to manage that anger, to not react. My emotional intelligence allows me to understand maybe you meant it that way, but I don't have to receive it that way. I'm going to receive it the intended way, but I'm also going to keep moving. And that's freedom within emotional intelligence. I'm not thinking about what was said, I'm not meditating consistently on it. I heard it. I acknowledged it, and I'm able to move on because I am managing my emotional intelligence. That is emotional intelligence. Okay, so some signs of emotional intelligence. And remember, tonight is all about the positive words, hearing those words. So whenever we think about emotional intelligence, maybe we're in a conversation. Let me use some compassion here. Maybe we're in a situation. Let me use social awareness in this moment. Let me manage my emotions. It's about hearing these words, hearing these phrases, and attaching them to emotional intelligence, attaching them to our thought life, attaching them to our conversations, so that as we continue to move throughout our day, as we continue to move throughout our life, that our emotional intelligence will continue to grow. Okay, so some signs of emotional intelligence. And I've shared some of these before, but again, I would like to reiterate them. An ability to identify and describe what people are feeling, discernment. An awareness of personal strengths and limitations, self confidence, self acceptance, the ability to let go of mistakes, your own personal mistakes, others' mistakes, an ability to accept and embrace change, a strong sense of curiosity, particularly about other people, feelings of empathy and concern for other people, showing sensitivity to the feelings of other people, accepting responsibility for a mistake that we may have made, the ability to manage emotions in difficult situations. And so that's one thing I'd like to stop and talk about for a moment. I'm not at all suggesting that we never be in situations that may be difficult, but within a difficult situation, the ability to manage your emotions when a situation may cause for anger or may cause you to feel like justified in responding in an anger tone. Emotional intelligence. I'm going to manage my emotions in this situation. I'm going to employ social awareness. I'm going to check out my surroundings, evaluate my surroundings. I'm going to perceive intended meanings, and I'm going to respond in a positive way. Me responding in that positive way can completely change an atmosphere. So even if in a difficult situation, I still have power and control over my emotions to use them in a positive way to cause about change in that atmosphere. I'm using my emotional intelligence to be able to walk away, diffuse conflict. I'm using my emotional intelligence in difficult situations, right? And so when we're doing that, what's happening is our emotional intelligence continues to grow. We continue to grow in grace in our emotional intelligence. Our emotional intelligence continues to grow. So no matter the situation that we are in, we're able to manage our emotions. We're able to control our feelings. We're able to have social awareness. We're able to have freedom in situations that would warrant or maybe justify us in responding negatively. But no, I've continued to practice on a daily basis how to manage my emotions. And because I've continued to manage and practice, I'm going to use my positive emotions in this difficult situation and watch this situation turn for my good. So now I would like to share some ways that we can continue to improve our emotional intelligence. And some of these ways I've gotten from Mental Health America, and then I've also, with their definitions and with their ways, I've also added my own thought process for these improvements for our emotional intelligence. So the first one is slowing down our reaction to emotions. Again, previous example on anger, showing that slowing down our reaction where you may feel justified, where it may be an impulsive reaction because I have become accustomed to reacting this way when I become angry. Well, emotional intelligence and ways to improve that is let me slow down, let me take a breath, let me think before I react. Let me get in touch with my emotions. Let me understand why I'm feeling this way. Let me understand what's going on in this moment and controlling my emotions. I've shared before, it is absolutely okay to take a breath. It's absolutely okay to take a moment before you respond. It's not a race. Maybe I am in an argument, but in that moment, I have the ability to calm down and take a breath. I don't want to say something that I don't mean, or that I'll regret later, or that I'll wind up apologizing for, or something that I say may cause another individual, to become bitter towards me. Slowing down my reactions to my emotions. The next time I'm feeling anger, trying to sit with my emotions before lashing out. Again, why did that upset me? What's underneath that? We talked about anger iceberg before, and understanding that above the iceberg is that anger. But beneath that iceberg, what are the emotions under there? Is it disappointment? Is it frustration? Is it hurt? Is it sadness? Is it fear? Is it grief? What's underneath there? So, sitting with my emotion before I lash out, before I verbally attack, even though I feel justified in it, sitting with those emotions. And so, excuse me, tonight, one of the things I would like to also share is asking for grace, asking God for grace to manage my emotions. God, I need help managing my emotions. I need help managing my thought process. I want to think positively. I have become accustomed to always thinking negative. I've become accustomed to, when a situation happens, immediately I have a negative thought, or my thought process is always pessimistic. I don't want to think like that anymore. I'm asking for help, the grace to be able to think positively, the grace to manage my emotions. I've been hearing about emotional intelligence, and every day I've been trying, but I need grace. I need more help in managing my emotions. I need more help in thinking positively. I want my days to be positive thought processes. I want to think positively more than I think negatively. I want to think good thoughts, holy thoughts, pure thoughts, more than I automatically assume a negative thought process, whether that has become accustomed because of culture, no matter where that thought process has come from, having a pessimistic thought process. I want to be optimistic all the time. I need help. I'm asking for grace to be able to see the positive in any and all situations. The next one, thinking about our strengths and weaknesses, understanding that it's okay that I need help in a particular area, knowing yourself and when to ask for help, when to offer help, the grace to ask someone for help. And in situations where I need emotional intelligence, but I'm in a place where I'm so angry till I can't talk, I can't speak, I'm radiating with anger. In that moment, the grace, I need help to ask someone, to call someone. Can you talk with me? Can you pray with me? I'm too angry. I'm too frustrated. I'm too sad. I cannot do it on my own. I'm asking in this moment, I need help. Just a sounding board, someone to help me in this moment. No shame in that. That's growing in grace. Going back to that word vulnerability that I implemented tonight, right? That's becoming vulnerable with someone that you feel comfortable enough to share. I'm in a place where I need help. I need help to be able to express these big emotions that I'm feeling. I don't want to react. I don't want to lash out. Can you talk with me? Can you pray with me? Can I vent with you? Can you just sit with me in this space as I manage my emotions? That's strength. That's vulnerability. That's emotional intelligence. Okay, another one, putting in the effort to understand what people are communicating non-verbally. If you ask someone to help you, let's say a work project, and they agree, but they may sound hesitant, they may recognize, and you may recognize that they feel overwhelmed or confused. Being able to confront them so that you have a full understanding of what that hesitancy was, what that feeling of you're feeling overwhelmed because I asked for help. Being able to acknowledge what someone else is feeling and expressing that. So for this one, we're asking for grace for discernment, grace for insight, awareness, acumen, compassion, empathy. I'm asking for grace to understand what another person is communicating non-verbally. Hey, I asked you for help on this assignment. I noticed that you were a little bit hesitant. It seemed like you felt like a little bit overwhelmed, right? Confused. What's going on? How can I help you understand fully what I was asking of you? I didn't ask you to do the project. I asked for help. So how can I help you fully understand what my intentions are? So again, that grace to discern what someone else is feeling, what someone else is going through, that insight, becoming aware of that situation, expressing empathy, compassion, communicating, which leads to our next one, working on communicating effectively and openly. A big one, communicating effectively and openly, goes back to I'm managing my emotions. And so, in managing my emotions, I'd like to communicate with you in this space. I'd like to share with you what I think you meant and also communicate my understanding of it so that we're on the same page. It's communicating that openness, that effective communication. That's also vulnerability, making sure that the point is clear, cut out information that's not relevant to the person that you're talking with, give your full attention when someone else is speaking, listening to what that individual is saying, not so you can respond, but listening to everything they're saying. Don't listen to the first sentence and they're continuing to talk, but you're stuck on that first sentence because, oh, I got to respond to that. I have to respond to that. No, giving the full attention, being able to sit with and be in the moment of what that individual is saying. I'm present with you. I'm in the moment with you. I'm able to hear what you're saying, not so that I can respond to you, but because I'm giving you my full attention. I'm actively listening to what you said. And then afterwards, I have the opportunity to either take a beat to process everything you said and then begin talking, or if I don't need to process, and because I was with you in that moment and I was able to follow along with everything that you were sharing, then I can communicate with you, right? I'm communicating effectively because I have given you my full attention. I have listened, not to respond, but I have listened to what you are saying. That's important. Feeling heard is important to people, to us all. I firmly believe that. Communicating with someone, you ever been on the phone with someone and you notice that they kind of start straying away or their attention is no longer on that conversation and they kind of throw in filler words, but they're not fully present? How does that make you feel, right? Like, mm, okay, I see that you're kind of busy right now. Maybe we can talk later. It's not a good feeling, right? To feel like you're not really heard in that moment. So being able to provide someone your ear, to be able to listen actively, to be present in what they're saying, to not judge what they're saying, not criticize what they're saying, but to listen to everything that they are saying. Because at the end, maybe they don't need you to say anything. At the end, maybe they just needed someone to talk to. Maybe they just needed to feel heard. Maybe they just wanted to get all of that out in the open so that they can feel better. They can understand their emotions. And now I have a way to proceed. Now I know how I would like to move forward. So being able to sit with someone, being able to hear what they are saying, communicating effectively is also silence. Because sometimes you don't need to say anything. Sometimes I'm just talking and I need you to hear me. I need to know that what I'm saying is important because I'm being vulnerable in this moment and I'm sharing with you. People want to be heard and not to be criticized or judged, but I want to be heard in this moment. Sometimes when you're in conversation, at the end, you can ask, do you want my advice on this? Did you just want to listen? Did you just want me to listen? Did you just want to vent? Because either way, I'm here for you. I'm communicating effectively. I want you to feel heard. I'm giving you my undivided attention. And so in that, asking for grace for communication, asking for grace. Lord, how do I proceed? Am I silent? Do I share? Asking for grace to communicate. And one of the things that I think is so important and so key, the helper will help us and wants us to succeed more than we want to succeed. He wants us to succeed. Emotional intelligence, he wants us to have high emotional intelligence. So asking for that grace to communicate effectively in every situation and in every scenario that we are in. The next one, grace to hear God and man. Grace to hear through hurt. My feelings are hurt with what you're saying, but I need to hear the meat of what you're saying. I need to perceive your intended meaning. Grace to hear through rejection. Grace to hear through wrong interpretation. Hearing through rejection. Hearing through insecurity. An example I like to use, you're pretty. Your thought process is, well, what do they mean by that? And now I'm meditating on, she said, I'm pretty. I'm meditating on that for a while. Now I'm discussing with myself, well, what does she mean by that? One compliment has turned into a 3-hour thought process of why they said what they said and what it means. What does that even mean? So the grace to hear, not through rejection, right? Through all of that, the grace to hear and to receive. You're beautiful. Your response, thank you. I don't need to think on that. I don't need to wonder what they meant. I don't need to do any of those things. I heard what you said. Emotional intelligence will allow me to hear through any insecurities and to receive that compliment and say thank you. The grace to think on things that are pure, the grace to think soberly, grace to think true, grace to think genuinely, grace to think reliable with integrity, grace to think nobly and with respect, grace to think those things, grace to think through that, and also to hear through that. I don't want to hear through rejection anymore. I don't want to feel rejected when I'm talking to somebody. So I'm going to talk, I'm going to hear, and I'm going to think soberly with a sober mind. I'm going to think and I'm going to react through grace, through truth, genuinely. So those are some things that I did want to share. And going over the ability to think soberly, the ability to hear, not through rejection, to hear through rejection, the grace to hear through any insecurities, grace to communicate effectively, grace for discernment, grace to ask someone for help when you need it, grace to manage our emotions. These are all ways that we can improve our emotional intelligence. Being able to practice these things, being able to practice thoughtfulness, going over signs of emotional intelligence, aware of our social awareness, self-confidence, self-acceptance. I'm accepting me. I'm confident in me. I'm no longer giving access to a thought pattern that suggests anything negative about myself. I am going to think about myself in a positive way. I am going to build confidence about who I am. I am going to accept myself for who I am and continue to grow. I am going to show empathy to other people. I am going to show empathy towards myself. I am going to show myself grace. If I maybe didn't succeed in one way, an opportunity or a situation came up and maybe I responded in the old way, okay, I'm going to forgive myself. Tomorrow is a new day. It's still more to this day. I may have not succeeded in this way, But today I can continue to grow. I'm acknowledging, I responded in the same way. I've acknowledged it. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going to give myself grace to continue to move on. A lot of times it's easy to give other people empathy, right? It's easy to give other people grace. But when we come towards ourselves, being able to let go of a mistake, accepting that I made that mistake, forgiving myself, and moving on. There's much more to the day. There's a new day tomorrow. His mercies are new every morning. So I am going to show myself grace. If God can give me grace, show me grace, his mercies are new every morning, then I can also give myself grace. I can show myself empathy. That's emotional intelligence. That's a high level of emotional intelligence. How I talk to myself, how I treat myself. Am I kind to myself? Am I forgiving of myself? Am I embracing who I am? Am I accepting myself? Am I doing these things of showing loving kindness to myself? Last week, one of the things I shared something that said, I shared how we show grace and empathy and how we talk to and encourage someone that we love and want the best for that individual. That's the same way that we need to show love, self acceptance, and encouragement towards ourselves. Encouraging ourselves. Next time, Ross, you'll get it. Keep moving forward, showing ourselves grace. And so tonight, I really hope that you receive something from ways to improve our emotional intelligence, signs of emotional intelligence, and understanding words that are connected to emotional intelligence. Compassion, reflecting, consistency, empathy, discerning, conflict resolution, overcoming, achieving success. I really hope that these words are connected to emotional intelligence. And as you continue to grow in emotional intelligence, these words will become a part of your everyday life. These ways will become a part of your everyday life, and it will become your innate nature to be able to respond with positive emotions. It will become innate within you to be able to respond with empathy, with compassion, effectively communicating. Emotional intelligence is a lifelong journey of growing while learning and implementing the skills we continue to learn. I'm going to say that again. Emotional intelligence is a lifelong journey of growing in emotional intelligence while learning and simultaneously implementing these skills that we continue to learn. We continue to learn ways of improving our emotional intelligence. It's a lifelong journey of showing compassion to someone, of showing compassion to ourselves. It's a lifelong journey of growing in grace. It's a lifelong journey of growing in our emotional intelligence. So I encourage you every day to practice growing in your emotional intelligence. I encourage you every day that as you are practicing growing in emotional intelligence, that you're giving yourself grace, even if you make an error, if you didn't respond the way you wanted to respond, giving yourself grace to be able to know, hey, it's more to this day. Tomorrow is a new day. I got this. Be blessed. Bishop's going to take up the offering.
There are 5 ways to give, 5 ways to give. You can text to give, you can give via mail, you can utilize the Cash App, or you can give via Zelle. You can also download our Rivers app. Our Rivers app will keep you informed of all things Rivers, and you can find that at your Apple Store or your Google Play Store. We want to thank you for being a part of tonight's broadcast. We'll be back on next week. We're starting a whole new series, and we just want to give it up for Sister Rosalind, as she has come and she has taught us on emotional intelligence. It has been a great journey, and we are better as a result of it. Thank you all for tuning in on the behalf of Apostle Stephen Garner and Prophetess Yolanda of River Chicago. God bless you and have a phenomenal week. Bye for now.